As if they don't have too much on their plates. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They'll talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Vince and Triple H. Review-A-SMACKDOwn. 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 Review-A-SMACKDOwn.
Hello, and welcome to Review-A-SMACKDOwn. If you're only hearing a singular voice, yes, it's just another opening.
Yes, it is, yes. Why? As opposed to a dual
both
tandem
of us
opening?
Tried to talk together.
We don't really have, I don't really know what you say, though. Like, it might be
That's
different.
why you've got to pay attention to what I'm saying.
Maybe we need a script.
You know what I was starting to get a little bit better at?
What?
Over the last week was lip reading.
Really?
Yes.
Well, this is, I think, beyond SmackDown. I'm curious about the update to your ears. Tell me about this.
I know you're someone that loves to turn your phone off for hours, but for those of you that have followed me over the last day, you realize what a incredible feeling I had when I resulted in using 2 emojis to describe how my ear felt.
Oh, yes. You had an emoji of an ear with an equal sign to the 100 emoji.
Do you know how long that thing took for me to send? I could not find that 100 symbol for like 5 minutes.
Pretty much buried in there.
It's really buried in there, and I've never used it before in my goddamn life. I was like, is it just not in here? I even typed out 100, thinking maybe the emoji will pop up, and it did not, as some will on my phone.
I don't know if that's how.
I was like, maybe this is just a sign. I'm never using them again.
No.
It was such an ordeal. But when I walked in, I sprinted to this doctor's office. And I banged on the door, and I broke the glass, and I dove in, and I said, "Where is the ear person?" And they couldn't hear me. But then I was brought into the room, and the woman there brought out this big bottle of water, and then it had a little squirter at the end of it, and she just shot it twice to show me like the amount of pressure this is going to be. I was like, "Listen, just do it." She was like, all right, this might be a little uncomfortable. I was like, do you want to know what a little uncomfortable is? I'll tell you what a lot of uncomfortable is. It's been the last week of my life where I can't even hear what people are saying. Please, just get rid of this. Do both ears if you must. And she started shooting around, and then I felt like it was a dam exploded. And I heard the only words I wanted to hear. She goes, "Oh, there it is." And I looked down. I was like, shit.
How big was it?
It wasn't that big, but it was like a bullet had come out of my ear.
Oh my God.
Oh, wait, it was amazing. I got up. She was like, "Do you want to sit around for a few minutes? You could get dizzy." I was like, "I'm good. I hope I never see you again. I hope this never happens to me again," but instant relief. And I went out and I went for a victory walk just to listen to my music clearly.
Wow.
Oh.
Congratulations.
This was one of the worst things I've ever dealt with from a physical standpoint in my life.
Well, I mean, I guess your wife had to give birth recently, so you had to go through this.
Yeah.
So
1A, 1B.
Wow,
it's fantastic. I can
tell
hear
me
you.
about the difference now. What, like, how much better is your hearing than even prior to this whole thing?
Let's include the wrestling audience. Scramble version, the scramble vision, so to speak, when you watch the pay-per-view versus my HD.
Yeah.
Version.
Got it.
That's the difference.
HD audio. Well, I mean, I think this would be a real benefit to your wrestling reviews, because now maybe you can even hear the subtleties in the crowd, interest in the matches.
I got really scared, though, during 205 Live that my ear blocked again, both of them. 'Cause I heard nothing. Turns out it was not me. I did watch 205 Live.
As did I.
You and I are gluttons.
What are we doing? I think at this point we're just used to it.
Yes. I know a lot of people are concerned out there for us watching 205 Live. Listen, I I am not just going to drop watching the show.
Next week I am.
Okay, that's
not
fine.
watching it.
That's fine.
Unless I go. That I don't think I don't think
it's necessary both of us watch it.
Yeah.
I am fine kind of shouldering that.
Okay. No, I'm making a commitment to next week not watching 205 Live.
Even though you might be there for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm there, then I guess I don't have a choice. But maybe the next week.
All right. Well, let's chat about this episode of SmackDown. Are we all set to go? Are we ready to chat?
Yes, we are.
From the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. Another place you have been to.
Yeah, we have both been to. This is the place where CM Punk
lost to Becky last September.
Yes.
It is also where SummerSlam 1996 took place.
Okay,
in its former name of the Gund Arena.
Thank you.
AJ Styles is out to start the show, and we're immediately beginning with AJ Styles and Kevin Owens for the United States title. Owens clobbers him from behind and sent AJ to the floor and hit a running clothesline. They went through a commercial. Owens then tossed him into the barricade and hit another cannonball. We had a second commercial break. Then Styles eventually hit a Ushigoroshi, goes for the Styles clash. That was countered with a back body drop. Owens super kicked him, got out of the way of another phenomenal forearm attempt as AJ had tried it on 2 occasions. Styles then rolled onto the ropes, applied the calf crusher. Owens headbutted his way free, went for the pile driver setup, but drops him on his back. Didn't matter because it was countered. Styles hit a Pele kick, tried for the Styles clash again. It's blocked, back to the calf crusher. Owens fights his way to the bottom rope, gets the break, and then Owens delivers an eye rake, super kicks AJ twice, and then Kevin Owens winds up with a punch, missing Styles, and I would say going 0 for 2 with his secondary target in Mike Chioda, where this was a phantom blow that, give the WWE production team credit, they immediately cut to give it a less exposing angle. And they also replayed this from alternate angles that made it look somewhat cleaned up, but this was still, just think of the idea way. If you were to punch me, think of a worked punch you were throwing towards me, and then you had to take your momentum to hit another target. Just the setup of that is problematic. Should have been like a big clothesline spot where your body is going towards the person instead of a punch. It was just, it seemed like there was a big margin for error that was met here. Mike Chioda goes down. It was to the point where it almost looked like Mike Chioda was working with Kevin Owens. It looked that silly to me. So he super kicks Styles, goes for the pop-up powerbomb, but Styles counters it with a roll-up, and Mike Chioda recovers and counts 3 with Kevin Owens' right shoulder clearly off the mat. And Owens is yelling at Chioda. He complains that his shoulder was up, but the decision stands, and AJ leaves with the United States title. We'll get to the post-match afterwards, but what did you think of this match?
I thought it was a good match. I thought it was... I mean, at this point, they've had so many matches that I think you can't expect anything but these two to just have a good match. It was a good match. That's all really I could say about it. It's mainly the finish that was most interesting about it. The fact that there was a ref bump leading into it makes me wonder if this was supposed to be the finish at the pay-per-view originally.
Right. With... Well, it's very kind of clouded, this whole picture for SummerSlam, because it looks like things have at least shifted somewhat in terms of plans and such, because now we can just go into this post-match. Chioda's eye is being checked on in the back. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon show up and state that Chioda made a bad call. He should have called for a second official. Owens shows up. He throws a tantrum. He's calling Mike Chioda an idiot, an incompetent moron, and he grabs Chioda, and Shane gets in his face and tells Owens to calm down. He can't put his hands on a referee, and they yell at one another. Shane says he will give Kevin Owens a rematch at SummerSlam, but Owens wants a proper referee. And Bryan announces that Shane is going to be the referee. Shane says that's the only way that you're going to get this rematch. So Owens agrees, and that is the title match for SummerSlam. Now, I had originally heard, like going back to Battleground weekend, that the idea for SummerSlam was going to be AJ and Cena. So that's obviously not happening at the moment. And Cena is a bit of a question mark for SummerSlam. There is the option of we'll get to this later, but anyway, this setup here, I'll say AJ and Kevin Owens have had some good matches. They haven't had that blowaway match. They've been hampered by finishes throughout all of their televised matches, going back to the Backlash countout finish. The Battleground I just didn't think was a very good match between those two. Tonight was better, but still not that blowaway match. I feel you're going to get a really solid match at SummerSlam between them, but just given that Shane's in the middle here, where it feels that you almost have to have a controversy to that, because Owens and Shane feels like a direction that maybe that was the original intent for SummerSlam, and that's being pushed back with AJ now inserted into this match with Owens. So you have to come out of this with some heat on Shane and Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't just get the Shane match at SummerSlam. At this point,
You and me might be the only ones who, like, I want to see that program, to be honest. I think it's a great program to emphasize Owens and to just build it up through his talking. I think fans are into a Shane match every once in a while, and I think the AJ match over-delivered significantly at WrestleMania, that I think it's a good program for Kevin Owens. I think it really helps Owens.
Yeah, and I think Shane matches are like, they've managed to create a real air of spectacle around Shane matches, and I was in the crowd during that Shane versus AJ match, and the crowd went nuts for it. So I have no doubt with Kevin Owens being in there, that would be a lot of fun too. But it seems like they are using this SummerSlam match as a setup to whatever Shane match that they have planned for Kevin Owens later on at a B pay-per-view. And that's a little disappointing to me, because as good as, as decent as Styles and Owens is, it's just, I've seen it too much now. It's not fresh anymore.
It's like what we said last week about Owens and Jericho, where it was a great feud, but it kind of reached its point, and you didn't want to. And also, no Jericho on this show at all. So it feels as though last week may have just been a one-off.
It's really strange.
I really, at some point, and maybe we'll get the chance, because Jericho's got his book coming out later this year, to get some insight into what has gone on over the past 2 weeks with this program, because I think there's been a lot of stuff that has happened that is probably, there's so many questions about all this, the finish at Battleground, Jericho popping up last week, maybe to just be a detour. Anyway.
Very odd.
Very strange that Jericho would be coming in to just do that one-off, take the pin, took off all the heat of the injury angle you did with Owens, and doesn't look like Jericho has any involvement for SummerSlam. But there you go. That is the plan for SummerSlam, with Shane just as a referee for now. The Usos came out, and I guess it was remix week, because the Usos theme now has lyrics on top of it, and it sounds like it's them doing the...
They're not lyrics. It's just Jimmy or Jay doing the Big E entrance from backstage.
No. They did the entrance from backstage, but then their actual theme played, and it has lyrics in it now.
Really? What are the lyrics? I didn't hear.
I don't know what they were saying, but it sounded like it was Jimmy and Jay just rapping.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it sounded good. I kind of like the change to it. It's, instead of just their instrumental they came out to, it's now got lyrics. But as Wai mentioned, they first came out doing the spoof on the New Day's entrance, where it took you about 2 or 3 seconds to realize it wasn't Big E.
It was a really good impression.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they came out and they cut an Usos promo asking, who are you expecting? 3 clowns on a tricycle? They're the reason the New Day isn't here. They
did a rap promo.
Yeah. They were each just going back and forth. They called them 3 grown men twerking, blowing their own horn, and ended it with Uso rocks as opposed to New Day rocks.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
I liked it too. I think I've been waiting for them to play off of the success of that rap battle for several weeks now, and I think they, today they seem to debut a new freestyle rap battle type of promo, which I think is great for them. This was not nearly as scathing as some of the lines they delivered in the rap battle. And maybe that's perhaps because these were maybe pre-approved. Who knows? I'm not sure. But I like the delivery, makes these two stand out. But I feel like they do need to reach a little bit more PG-13, maybe even slightly venturing into R for something like this. Otherwise, it just kind of, they feel like a bit of a whimper.
Then we had the Fashion Files with Tyler Breeze alone because Fandango has been abducted and gone missing.
This is Fashion Peaks.
Fashion Peaks. I have never seen Twin Peaks, so
Me neither.
I feel a lot of this went over my head and went over probably most of the audience's head.
Unless you're a big fan of Twin Peaks and David Lynch, because this was perhaps the most obscure of all the Fashion Files. A great deal of homage to Twin Peaks and David Lynch.
Yes, this was not exactly Game of Thrones you were spoofing. That would be inclusive of a lot of your audience. Again, those would that would go over my head too. But to me, that would be more on me than it would be on them.
If you're a Twin Peaks fan, I'm sure you would have loved this.
Okay, well, please let us know, folks.
Yeah.
So the bulletin board featured Blue Velvet McIntyre, Bella Twin Peaks.
I can explain some of these for you because I went on Reddit and there's a dude named Shadowlog who is obviously a big Twin Peaks fan.
Well, go for it. You take over.
So what was the first thing you said?
Okay, Blue Velvet McIntyre.
So Blue Velvet is a David Lynch movie.
Okay.
And McIntyre, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure somebody can explain that to me.
Well, it was the female wrestler Velvet McIntyre.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Bella Twin Peaks, self-explanatory. Yep. Lynch for David and Becky, I guess.
Yes.
That was the reference. Mm-hmm. Eraserhead, and this also featured a post-it on top of it. You had Sting's surfer photo with Eraserhead and a question mark, and then a post-it that said, "Over my head." As though this was even over Tyler Breeze's head, so no one was going to get this. Did
Eraserhead is another David Lynch movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And was that it? We had Tony
there's
Chimmel
some
was
other
up there.
shit. Yeah. Killer Bob is the main bad guy in Twin Peaks. Fire Walk with Me is the name of the Twin Peaks movie. Plenty of things out there. So like when Ascension and Fandango appear in red, it's because in Twin Peaks there's a Red Room episode or a Red Room where people move and talk backwards.
Holy Christ! Like I'm not going to say this isn't clever to your.
What I'm telling you,
so obscure.
This is so obscure to the point that I'm amazed that Vince McMahon, who usually has a fine-tooth comb running through everything that appears on his TV, has been approving all these things. And this one, to me, was like the most out there of all.
Yeah. So in the Red Room, the Ascension appears with Fandango, and they start pouring syrup on a log of wood. Tyler says, no wonder the show got canceled the first time. And Fandango's got a rose. Breeze is not understanding all these metaphors. Neither were we. It's believed that it was all just a dream as Tyler awakes in the office, and into his recorder he tells Diane the date, and he knows who kidnapped Fandango. The crowd did applaud some of this at the end, so maybe the Cleveland crowd got into this. I did not, and this one, to me, what a narrow casting of a segment to such a small amount of people that would get any of this. But the punchline is that he has now got a lead on where Fandango is.
No, this one kind of left me definitely confused, but still intrigued, you know? And I think I'm mainly intrigued by the fact that on a wrestling show where typically they try to cater so much to a general audience and they dumb down so many things to make sure everybody understands it, something like this that feels like they're just doing it because it makes them amused, I'm all for it. I love, whenever somebody has creative freedom to do what they want, and these segments feel like they are just that.
All right. Sami Zayn was out, followed by Aiden English, who did his lengthy entrance, where he sang all the way to the ring. Crowd was booing all of this. And then we had a singles match. There was a headlock by English into a headlock by Zayn, a series of arm drags, and then, out of an arm lock, English rolled up Zayn and pinned him in a minute 58. Zayn was shocked. JBL says it wasn't a Picasso, but it was a work of art, and Tom Phillips thinks it was more of a Jackson Pollock. Throwing some shade on the Pollock name. Then Mike and Maria came out and said they love each other, and they love that Zayn lost.
Yeah. So, this is now a feud between Sami Zayn, who lost today, and Mike and Maria Kanellis, who lost last week to Sami Zayn.
So who is the biggest loser?
Who's the biggest loser? This is a feud between two losers.
Where they are both slotted behind Aiden English.
Pretty much. I mean, and the answer is who cares? You know, these are all losers at the bottom of the card.
There is no one on this roster that I feel is more mishandled than Sami Zayn.
I mean, I
He
would,
is at the top
I would
of my
kind of,
list.
I would kind of argue Mike Kanellis at this point too. I can't say it's been a great debut for either of them, who are both incredibly, a lot more talented than I think this role provides.
Naomi and Becky Lynch teamed up to take on Carmella and Natalya. Becky bounced out of the corner and lands on her right knee and started to favor it. Naomi came in, did a jumping leg drop to Natalya, who wants to call a timeout, and she tags in Carmella. This featured the spot of Naomi coming off the rope, sliding on her knees into a slap to Carmella.
No, not into that.
I don't know. It was getting
You didn't see
a
that
lot
in
of
the,
criticism.
That wasn't in the G1.
No, not
Could you
yet.
see it in the G1 though?
This was actually, no, maybe not this match, but I halfway through today's show featured hands down the worst match of the G1.
By who?
Toru Yano and Michael Elgin.
Okay.
3 minutes.
I'll check that out.
Yes. It makes you sound ridiculous if you were so upset about Kenny Omega and Toru Yano when you see this, where it just,
I love that match.
both of us enjoyed
Yeah.
that match a lot. And
So maybe I'll love this one?
no, you won't.
Oh, okay.
You won't. I promise. I don't think anyone could possibly enjoy it, including Michael Elgin, I would assume. So then after that, Naomi gets to the rope. Carmella tags herself in, is arguing with Natalya, and this is after Natalya has weakened Naomi with the sharpshooter, and then Carmella applies the code of silence, but Naomi counters out into her own submission and submits Carmella in 451.
Yes. So the continuing trend of the Money in the Bank loser or winner losing, I guess.
The
is
biggest
somewhat
loser.
continues.
That's the unofficial
Yeah.
title everyone's striving for.
I thought it was really cool submission reversal at the end here from the code of silence to whatever Naomi calls her.
Have you ever
finish.
been put in a code of silence in jiu-jitsu?
I mean, there are armless triangles
Yep.
that are actually quite popular now, and they hurt a lot. This wasn't really that, but like
Do they
it's
base
kinda
on the
like
arm?
that. Based on the arm.
Like Carmella, you've got to have that.
No. This is more like an inverted armless triangle.
All right.
But it's like, I mean, it could be legit. Anyway,
What about Naomi's submission? That one looks more.
that one does look painful.
Yeah.
You laugh, but like these I think these are both cool finishers that they both have. I thought this was totally fine. You know, I like Naomi and Becky as a team. I think they're good kind of A and B kind of baby faces right now. I wonder where Charlotte is and how she figures into SummerSlam.
Yeah. Well, they did this setup after on the website where Carmella's challenging Charlotte next week. So I would
okay.
assume you've got to shoot.
Wait a second. I thought Carmella was facing Naomi next week.
Who was it then? Is it someone else that was challenging Charlotte next week?
Tamina? Lana?
You're
Lana,
right.
Lana. Suzanne,
That's who I'm
thank you.
thinking of. Lana.
Okay.
So it's Lana and Charlotte next week.
I see.
And I figured that's where you've got to set up Charlotte and Becky's program
At SummerSlam, you
of
think?
whatever it is for SummerSlam, which when you take out Natalya and Naomi,
Yeah. You don't think Cyborg's happening?
I don't think Cyborg is happening.
No, I don't think so either.
Renee Young was with Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers, who are in shoulder and neck braces, and Jinder doesn't care if it's the man from Japan or the American. I like the simplification of Cena and Nakamura as just the man from Japan or the American. Mm-hmm. He's going to leave his champion at SummerSlam. He's going to go watch from his personal skybox, which is true wealth when you have a personal skybox in an arena you run twice a year, and only feels xenophobia when he walks down the street. Then we had Rusev taking on Chad Angle.
Before we get to that, I'm curious because Machine Gun Kelly is doing the song for SummerSlam.
Oh yeah, where was that? Where was he?
Do you think he makes an appearance at SummerSlam? Maybe a reunion with Kevin Owens?
That would be great.
He should be the new Pete Rose, you know?
And he just gets beat up.
Yeah, by Kevin Owens. every
What a
time.
great angle that went nowhere.
I know. Unless they just kept, like, every several years, they'll just come in to get beaten up by Kevin Owens. I think that'd be awesome.
and one of our greatest Review Raw titles, Steen Guns Kelly.
Yes, it was a good one.
That was great. Rusev and Chad Gable. Gable was borrowing from the Damian Maya strategy of constantly going for single legs, but Rusev stuffed them all. Gable then got tossed to the floor. Eventually, Gable does get a takedown and starts attacking the left knee. Then he shoots in and eats a knee from Rusev and hits a big overhead suplex. They come back from the commercial. Gable hits 2 overhead belly-to-bellies. Rusev stops a third, and then Gable hits a bridging German. Gable goes to the top and kicks Rusev away, lands on his feet with a backflip, and then Rusev misses him in the opposite corner. Gable hits a beautiful moonsault from the top for a near fall. Then Gable attempted a chaos theory, which was stopped. Rusev landed a head kick for a near fall. He's up, stomps the back, but Gable avoids the accolade, slides under, applies the ankle lock, and then Rusev kicks out of that. Gable returns into a super kick. Finally, the accolade is applied, and Rusev wins by submission. Very good match between these two.
I really enjoyed it, especially like the story they were trying to tell at the beginning of Gable using all his amateur wrestling to try to take Rusev down, and Rusev stuffing everything like Tyron Woodley.
He was, and the fans didn't boo this.
They did not.
The cell phones didn't come out.
I thought these two had pretty good chemistry.
Yes.
For just a short TV match. Gable, I guess he's always kind of done the angle thing, but here, like in this match, it almost seemed like they were trying to tell us, hey, this guy is the real child of Kurt Angle. I mean,
it felt too intentional.
Between the suplexes to the moonsault to the ankle lock, yeah, it was almost like they gave him a lot too, because like they were allowing this guy, who's a short guy, to throw Rusev around, which they don't often do. They didn't even allow Taz to throw too many men bigger than him.
I thought Gable got a good amount in this match. I mean, he lost, but it was
like a showcase for him almost.
Yeah, to me, this was a better match than he had the one with AJ and Owens, even, I would say. He got a lot more in this than those ones. They got 2 segments out of this. And
so, but, you would figure that from how they were showcasing him, that he would be getting pushed. But I guess this is how they like to push smaller underdogs, is by
they lose.
Having them lose.
They lose and lose and lose and lose. Yeah. And it's going to just turn them into superstars like Daniel Bryan. It's tried, true, and that's why Sami Zayn's going to headline WrestleMania next year. It was very good. Watching this, I'm not totally negative on Jason Jordan. It's just that Chad Gable is like 50 times better for that role.
What do you think? Do you think this has any ties? Like this Chad Gable push, do you think it'll have any ties to the Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan thing on Raw?
In what way?
I don't know. Well, yeah, maybe all the references here to Kurt Angle's moveset.
I just don't understand how you can go back at this point. I mean,
is Chad?
How can you think you had a black child and it turns out you don't?
Is Chad Gable even adopted, or like does he even have foster parents?
Well, I'm sure he's the grandson of Dan Gable, of course.
Oh yeah. How would that work? Maybe Kurt himself is adopted.
Oh, God.
Does that make sense?
I have no idea. I just think it becomes this story becomes really complicated if you're going to flip who the real son is.
Oh, you're telling me it's not complicated already?
I'm saying it's at least plausible that Kurt had this relationship with a woman in college, and it turned out...
Maybe he had multiple relationships, and maybe they're actually half brothers.
Okay.
Chad Gable,
so within the
Jason
exact
Jordan.
same time frame...
Are they the same age? Gable and Jordan?
Look it up.
Okay. Whatever. Yes. The answer is yes.
Well, for creative license, they'll probably have to take some here. But anyway, I thought that Chad Gable looked very good here, and just watching this, I just feel... Chad Gable in this role, Chad Gable against The Miz.
Somebody on YouTube is suggesting that perhaps Jason Jordan switched the names on the report out of jealousy.
But again, Kurt would know the ethnicity of the woman he had sex with.
He's probably slept with many women, being a star amateur wrestler in college.
All right. Rusev got on the microphone. He said he was promised competition when he came here to SmackDown, so he was given John Cena. Cena might have waved his flag around, but he never beat him. No one can. He has no opponent for SummerSlam because everyone is afraid. And then the best part of SmackDown, his own music hit, and he got startled by it because he clearly was not ready for his theme to play, because then he was interrupted by Randy Orton.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. I don't know if his promo was cut short or if there's something off there, but this part definitely felt a little off.
I don't think you needed to have his theme play. There was no reason for it other than it made Rusev look ridiculous with his reaction to his own music here as he jumped. The Orton comes out. The fans are chanting for him. He makes his way down to ringside. Rusev welcomes him into the ring, and Orton says Rusev has never beaten him. Orton's not afraid of Rusev, and now he's got an opponent for SummerSlam. Rusev responds in Bulgarian, and this is just not acceptable. Orton charges at him and then hits the RKO. Can't wait for this match. What an issue we've got.
Well, these are also two losers from the last pay-per-view.
You know, I'll say Randy was... First of all, he loses 3 consecutive pay-per-views to Jinder Mahal, and the out you had for this Battleground one was the Great Khali, which was such a short-sighted idea when there looks to be no follow-up with Great Khali. It makes Randy look very stupid that now he doesn't care about Jinder. He's not going to get his revenge on the Great Khali. He's a loser from this program, and now he's moving on. I think it made Randy look very weak in the way that it was just... They were thinking in one night, how do we get Jinder to win this match? And you're trying to protect Randy, but in actuality, I think you hurt him because now he's booked to not care.
Right. It's almost like Rusev should have figured into that finish instead of Great Khali.
Like at the very least, just to do one, you don't even have to do a match with Khali, but something, if you can get an RKO spot, something that vanquishes Khali by Randy doing so.
And he doesn't look to be coming back. He's been switched back to the alumni section of the website.
No, and if there was going to be any follow-up, that should have been last week. There's no need for him to come back other than Randy's kind of left here with nothing, and now he moves on. So, this just, given the fact that all the losses Randy's just had, I think this is a pretty foregone conclusion at SummerSlam, and I think this is a match that's just going to be buried in the middle of the card. Maybe it'll be fine, but to me, it's just a match.
Yeah.
This is when Naomi and Carmella, you're right, was announced for Toronto next week. And then it's our main event, John Cena and Shinsuke Nakamura. They came out with like 15 minutes left in the show, so you knew you weren't getting a lengthy match, but they got some time. Cena grabs his leg in the corner, powers out, dumps him onto the mat. They go through the commercial. Nakamura's delivering kicks to the body, drapes him on the top, and hits a running knee. Cena comes back with shoulder blocks, does a suplex, and as he goes to do the "you can't see me," Nakamura applies an armbar. Nakamura then turns into a triangle, which it's hard to even call it a triangle. It's more like a high guard at this point.
It's a pro wrestling triangle.
It's a pro wrestling triangle, yes. That looks as ridiculous as anything. Nakamura then gets lifted. He hits Cena with a gourd buster, sets up for the Kinshasa, but Cena counters that with a drop toe hold into the STF. Nakamura gets out, back to the armbar. Cena's out. He hits an inside-out clothesline. Nakamura hits him with strikes, a running knee, sets up for the Kinshasa, but Cena sidesteps, hits an AA that Nakamura kicks out of. Cena goes for another AA, but Nakamura turns it into a guillotine, puts him back on his shoulders. Cena goes for another AA, then lifts him up to go for a third one, but Nakamura counters, suplexes Cena right onto his neck. This looked frightening. You have a movie franchise built around this guy, and he's getting dumped on his neck. This was a careless and very stupid spot.
I don't know if the producers of that Transformers movie were watching SmackDown, but I could only imagine their reaction to seeing this clip at some point. I'm sure it caused a lot of people a lot of concern. This could have been really, really bad.
This was very unnecessary to have this. Even if it was intended to be a safe suplex. Like, if I was involved in that movie, there's no way I'm letting this guy do this match a day later. Like, filming just began on Monday. He injures his neck that he's had surgery on. That's a massive production that is thrown out.
I try to imagine what Nakamura must have been thinking too once he realized. And at the end of the match, you could see him say, you could see him clearly mouth the word sorry to Cena, and Cena told him, "Don't be sorry."
It was a really, really ill-advised suplex.
Just a mess up, I guess.
Hit the Kinshasa and then pins John Cena. So Nakamura goes on to take on Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam. JBL thinks this is the biggest win of Nakamura's career. I will maintain after seeing this that I would have preferred this be the Battleground match.
Completely. Yeah.
I feel this could have main evented Battleground. The other question
main
is,
event's WrestleMania, dude.
do you well, yeah, but I think the battle they are having here is this movie Cena's involved with.
Oh,
I
right.
question if Cena's even doing SummerSlam. He is advertised for SmackDown next week. He is advertised for dates. He's advertised for the Raw pay-per-view in September. But that could all change. This Transformers movie, he's got a lead role. It just started on Monday, and after watching this, no way you're doing SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So
from the lead up to it, what's really interesting is just like trying to figure out what's all been changed as a result of this movie that's coming out. Maybe this was planned before. Who knows? But the fact is, like, there is really no hinting between Nakamura and Jinder Mahal at all. In fact, like when you look at the character, it's peculiar. Like, what would a guy in Jinder Mahal whose entire character is about being anti-American, what gripe would he have with a Japanese man, in Shinsuke Nakamura? It certainly doesn't write itself as well as the John Cena feud, which is almost natural, and you could have expected was maybe the plan for SummerSlam. So the fact that Nakamura won here and is about to face Mahal at SummerSlam, it makes me wonder. Like, it all feels like a very disjointed build, and it makes me wonder how much was changed last minute.
Yeah, well, all I can say is, like, Battleground weekend, I was told the two matches, it was going to be Jinder and Nakamura and Cena and AJ. So
really? So it was already a plan from...
That's what I was told as of, a week and a half ago. So I don't know what has all changed in that time period. The only thing I can guess is that this movie, but granted, this movie didn't just fall out of thin air. It's like they had to have been aware that Cena was up for this role and that the fact that, filming's beginning. So this was not likely a secret internally.
Right.
I think it's just a question of where Cena's schedule is going to take him, and the fact that does this movie studio want him out doing matches even if he can get a free day to go do SummerSlam. It seems they've kept it open-ended because after the match, Nakamura continues to celebrate. This is on the WWE Network after the show's ended. Baron Corbin jumped Nakamura from behind and attacks him. Cena returns to fight off Corbin. Corbin drops him on the floor, has him laid out, and then gets the steps, lifts up Corbin. Corbin goes to put Cena through the announcer's desk, but Cena turns it into an AA, putting Corbin through the announcer's desk, and Cena returned, shook hands with Nakamura. So it looks like if there's any spot for Cena at SummerSlam, it's Baron Corbin. Although, if that was the way you would be going, I would think Corbin would want to look strong here in this, and instead he was just laid out, and that...
I mean, it was really just more of a dark thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they went out of their way to show it on the network. It wasn't just for the live crowd. It was for your audience. So
is that because of 205 Live, though?
Yeah, but you could have... Anyway.
But anyway, yeah.
I think it aired for a reason. They did it for a reason.
Right. Corbin is also an interesting case because I think Nakamura being here and him possibly beating Jinder at SummerSlam paves the way for a cash-in.
Yes, yeah, you could definitely go that way.
Versus a cash-in on Jinder, which makes a little less sense.
No, I think you'd only do it if it was on Nakamura after he's had a big match, which... Yeah.
What'd you think of the match? We didn't even really talk about it.
A good match. Certainly your expectation is much higher for these two to have a 25-minute classic.
I thought it was a great match for the time that it was allotted.
You're right. It was a very good TV main event.
With these two, I was just watching this and looking at so many of these moments, just even from the get-go, and I just thought about how much bigger of a reaction this would have received with a bigger build at a bigger show. But I can't complain too much. I think it was short, but it lived up to the hype for what it was.
I don't feel they gave away enough. I actually like the fact it wasn't 25 minutes on TV where you're left where you
fully satisfied.
Yeah, in this, it was enough. They delivered enough on TV while still wanting you to see this on a bigger stage at some point, which realistically, when you look at Cena's future, those spots on big shows, they're not infinite at this point. So who knows if they'll ever even get to that? Because I do feel that if Cena is around for the Rumble or WrestleMania and you're committed to Jinder, that is a program they probably want to get to down the road if they're still with Jinder by, say, Mania time.
Do you feel like if he is going to wrestle at SummerSlam that they should have gone, they would go with Jinder versus Cena? You know, like it kind of makes a little sense if you're going to risk this guy having a match at SummerSlam to put him just with Baron Corbin, don't you think?
I would say if Cena was available to me, the more enticing story is Jinder and Cena. Conversely, Nakamura and AJ as well. Like that feels like a big match.
Yeah.
And SummerSlam listen, I'm sure it's going to be a good show. It doesn't feel like it has that big match this
I'm not
year.
so sure it'll be a good show. I mean, there are definitely good matches.
Let's look at this card because I wrote it down. So the official matches we have are Lesnar, Strowman, Joe, and Reigns.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah.
Jinder and Shinsuke, which is going to be a struggle.
It'll be
AJ and Owens, which, I mean, that's another one. They could have a very good match, and it's going to be how the finish is
But we've
booked.
seen it so many times.
We've seen it. Orton and Rusev, a match. Alexa Bliss and Bayley, who looks to have injured her shoulder on Monday, which I guess that match is somewhat in doubt, although if she can go, there's a story there, and now Bayley is showing her toughness that she can battle through this. But it looks like it was a legit injury if you watch the spot on Monday. Naomi and Natalya, Neville and Tozawa, and then we assume Cesaro and Sheamus against Ambrose and Rollins, Usos and New Day, Miz and Jason Jordan, and I guess if Cena is doing SummerSlam, it would be Corbin, but I'm not too sure Cena's doing SummerSlam, but I don't know that for a fact.
Just on paper, it's kind of a meh card to me.
It just feels like there's a lot of matches that you're going with lesser options. That's what it feels like. There isn't that blow-away match on the show that makes it feel like your number 3 show of the year. So other than the 4-way, I think that should be really strong. But that is our lineup. 205 Live. Are we wrapping this up?
Let's wrap it up for YouTube, and we'll do 205 Live on the downloadable audio version of the show, which you can grab at liveaudiowrestling.com.
All right, so go meet us there on the website, and of course, subscribe to youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling, and we will chat with you later.